When we moved to this house, one thing that we were quite keen to do was to make sure that we had TV and internet in all the rooms that we wanted to have it in. So that meant the lounge, it meant internet into the offices that we were working from home, and it meant TV in the bedrooms as well as internet in the bedrooms as well. So we wanted to be as flexible as we could with how we were going to live in the house, and also think about, in the future, if we move on to a new house, then the new owners of this house, how they would want to use it. So to be as flexible as possible, we thought we would put internet and we'd put TV around the home, and then in the future, perhaps in the garden as well. But one of the things, while we were doing that, we thought, well, what we'd like to do is have a TV on the wall and just see the TV, because quite often we'll have a cable coming from the satellite signal, we'll have a cable coming from the power lead, and it gets a little bit messy, a bit untidy, and it's quite nice to have everything hidden away. As we were doing some wiring around the house, we decided to put some plugs in, and then the electrician chased up the cables in the wall and put the plugs, which are then behind the TV, and we've just got some sockets at the bottom that we can connect and switch off when we need to. Putting everything together has allowed us to put everything behind the TV, and what I did is I drew a pencil line around the edge of the TV, so I knew that everything I was putting on the wall was going to hide behind the TV. So what we've done is we've got the bracket on the wall here, and we've got a couple of plug sockets, and we've got four in total on the wall. So we've got one which is for our satellite box, then we've got another one which is going to be the TV, and then two here for a HDMI extender. And the reason we've got a HDMI extender is because I wanted to be able to watch the satellite TV in another room, so in the bedrooms. We have it here, we have the main box here, it's all controlled and we can watch what we want on TV. But then, perhaps, as we want to go to bed, but might just want to finish off watching something, but still in bed. And rather than getting a second connection for the satellite TV, the easiest way to do that was to put a HDMI splitter and a HDMI extender here. So what we've got is we've got connection here into a HDMI splitter. So the HDMI splitter, what that does is it takes the HDMI signal from the satellite receiver, and then it quite literally, as the name suggests, it splits it. So one of them is here, and this is going to go into the back of the TV, and then the other one goes across into the HDMI extender. And what the HDMI extender does is it's going to send a signal via the Ethernet cable and down through an Ethernet port, and that's going to go down into the bedroom, and that's going to allow us to send the signal there at the same time as to the TV. Now, it does mean that we can still only watch one channel. So whatever we're watching on the satellite TV will be on this TV, and it will be the same signal sent through. So it doesn't allow us to watch different channels on TV, but it does allow us to watch something here, turn this off, go to bed, and continue to watch it in the bedroom. Or if we're being particularly lazy, we can stay in bed one morning and we can watch satellite signal and watch the TV from in bed. So it's quite easy to do. What we've got is we've got two switches at the bottom here. One comes up and goes into the one plug, so we can switch off the satellite box if we need to, but we don't need to often, so that'll be on its own switch. And then we've got a separate switch that comes and controls the other three plugs, so we can then switch off the TV and anything else at night time. So if we wanted to switch everything off, go to bed, leave it, cut the power, make sure that there's nothing being used, we can do that as well. We've got a regular TV antenna port, so our TV antenna comes to here, it goes through a amplifier in the loft, and it comes through to the bedrooms as well, and that means that we can watch Freeview TV and anything on regular TV. And then we've got two Ethernet ports. So one of them is the HDMI extender, so that will come out of here and that connects directly into a socket in the bedroom. So it's one continuous line. It needs to be one continuous line, because if it goes through a switch then it doesn't work. HDMI extenders have to be one continuous line. It can be connected along the way, but just not through a switch. So it's fine to go through a socket there. And then the other one is just a port that goes up to our switch, which allows us to get the internet connection. So out of here, the internet comes through and it goes into the satellite box. So that allows us to watch, catch up TV and anything else that we need on our satellite signal there. And it means that we don't have to rely on a Wi-Fi signal. It's hardwired in back to the router and then into the internet. Makes it a lot better. And then just in the middle, as I said, we've just got, you know, a rock solid TV bracket, because as you can see from the line here that goes all the way around, you know, we've got a fairly wide 75-inch TV. So we've got a nice big picture, a nice crystal clear when we're watching that in the lounge. If we go and get the TV, we'll hang that on the wall. Now we've got the TV back on the wall, and we've connected all the satellite TV. That's coming through, pictures coming through lovely. That's all working just as it should be, so really happy with that. All that's left to do now is just to cover up the repairs that are necessary, just plaster in where we've chased through the cables. So when this is all decorated and finished off, all you're going to see is just the 2 plugs at the bottom there. So we've got one switch there, which we can switch off the satellite box if we need to, just to reset it, save us having to climb behind the TV or anything like that. And then you've got the other switch there, which is Wi-Fi enabled. So we can use voice commands and we can use that, and that will power off the TV and everything else. We can set some rules to switch that off at night time and when we go to bed, and that will be all connected, and it will cut the power, which is great. So what we'll do now is we'll go downstairs into the master bedroom, and we'll go to the other end of where the HDMI extender comes out, and we'll see if the picture can come through there. So in the main bedroom, where we want to have the HDMI extender come through to, what we've done is chased in the cables, and we've added a couple of Ethernet ports to the wall, and this is going to be behind where the TV is going to sit. So I've got to put the TV bracket on the wall yet. So we've got a couple of plugs for power, we've got the TV aerial, and these 2 Ethernet connectors. One of them is going to be from our switch, and it's going to give us the internet signal, so the smart TV can connect directly to the internet. And the second one is the other end of the HDMI extender. So what we've got, as you've already seen, we've got the HDMI extender, which feeds into the Ethernet line, and then the other end is just exactly the same box. It's just the HDMI extender, but it's the receiver part. And in here, what we've got is we've got the HDMI output, which goes into the TV, and we've got the RJ45, so the Ethernet input in there. There's also power in this one. So what you can do is, if it's a shorter feed and it's easier for you to do so, you can actually power the receiver. Now you won't be able to send such a long signal through an Ethernet cable, but at least you can send a signal and it will come through and it will be powered and it will work. But it's obviously best to send it through from the transmitter end. So all we need to do is we need to put in our Ethernet cable, plug that into there. We'll plug that into our socket where we've got the HDMI extender coming through to, and then what we'll do is I'll go and get a HDMI cable, and I'll just get a little TV just so we can test this and make sure this picture's coming through. Okay, so I just grabbed the TV. This is not the one that's going to end up going on the wall, but it's small enough that I can carry around just to bring in here to do a test. I want to make sure I can get a signal through from the main TV and from the satellite box down to here while that's still playing upstairs. Okay, powered on. All right, so I just need to grab a HDMI cable, and I've used this before, so I know this one is a good one. So I just need to plug that in to the range extender on the HDMI side of that, and then I just need to plug that into the back, and if I pick any of the available HDMI slots, amazing, there we go. So as you can see, we get a picture that comes through. So that's got that. Now, one thing to note is that this is not Ultra HD, the signal comes through, because the HDMI extender will only transmit up to HD, which is 1080p signal, which is absolutely fine for what I need. It's going to come through to the bedroom TV, and a HD picture will be lovely. If you want to do UHD, you can. It just means that you need to get a more expensive HDMI extender. This one was, I don't know, £25, something like that, and then we had the separate splitter, about £15. So all in, you know, about £40. Now, if you want to go to Ultra HD and get that through, it's going to cost, I don't know, 100, maybe £150 for a UHD compatible HDMI extender. If you want to do that, then great. I may do that in the future. I may decide that, you know, if I put a big TV up on the wall, that I really want to get the, you know, the best picture and use a HDMI extender. But for now, that's going to be perfectly good for what I need. I'm going to see how I get on with that, and yeah, I'm going to enjoy that picture coming through and being able to control that from down here. So off to the next job. Thanks very much.